Let's step back in time to the Tudor period, where there was lots of political discourse, economic disparity and wary activities happening across Wales at this time, either from west to north to south. Places like Barry Island, Newquay and Porthmadog up in the north all experienced massive smuggling issues, and these were just horrendous. So join us into this documentary segment of what I would call Wales in the smuggling age. So today we'll be unravelling the golden age of smuggling in Wales and even across the whole of the UK. So join us as we discover and even uncover some of these lovely stories, such as Sean Kilt, such a interesting man of smuggling who was never actually caught, and maybe some of the people who are generally caught at this time. So carry on watching to learn more. So what is smuggling and how did it grow? So smuggling has always been an issue in the Tudor period, especially in the Tudor period, because it was just such a hidden world of illegal, illicit trading. And so basically smuggling just essentially means the illegal trade where goods are moved undercover to obviously avoid law enforcement, or in this case, in the Tudor period, HMRC, and to avoid custom and excise duties. So why did smuggling just thrive in the Tudor period? So in the 18th century, many people view smuggling as just simply not a crime. People just saw it as an okay thing to do, even though that the penalty for smuggling was often death penalty, or even towards the 1753 transportation to colonies such as Australia, New Zealand and Canada was also an option for penalty if you was caught smuggling. So it was just a way to for people in local areas to resist the absolute oppressive tax rises. Like, for example, there were several factors, like the sharp increase of customs and excise duties, what was just huge at the time. It was like triple, quadruple the price to buy goods from abroad now. And also luxury goods such as chocolate, tea, beer, cider and spirits also faced extra excise duties. This was like 70% increase from the original cost at the start of the mid-18th century. So this was around Elizabeth I, King Henry VIII and Mary I. So that just meant that smuggling just became like a business that was profitable, and there were plenty of investors here that were interested in becoming becoming smugglers, I guess, and starting up gangs. So, and you need to remember that Britain, and especially Wales, we have a lot of coastline. The whole of Great Britain is an island with so much coastline, which is impossible to police. Impossible, right? And we have rugged coastline and many beaches and coves hidden all around the country, including Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and most of England. So, and also the rise of these investors who took the opportunity to invest in these smuggling rings really, like, it just made them money, and that's all they cared about here. And many people in local communities in rural areas really wanted cheap chocolate, cider and beer. So these were just lucrative targets for smuggling rings. So let's carry on now to how smuggling gangs were operated during these Tudor periods, especially in Wales, and let's talk about the roles of smuggling gangs. So smuggling gang organisation. So you can see on this brick wall here, that says add snap 4 bars by this person called Jaden. Yeah, who knows who Jaden is? But add snap is a word for the tubman. Yeah, surprisingly, add snap means alert tubman. And so they call that snap as a tubman because tubmen tend to snap their backs. And also, 4 bars basically just mean that Blackwood Massive has an addiction to these things called puff bars, yeah? Blackwood Massive, you might have heard of them. And Jaden DR is one of the most famous tubmen in Blackwood, actually. And he used to be an ex-venturer in Llangrannog and Newquay, surprisingly. So let's carry on about what are smuggling gangs and how they organise themselves. So obviously we know Jaden R here is one of the most professional venturer. So what is a venturer? So Adventurer is the unseen head of the operation, but now he's obviously very seen because he's putting an advertising up on a brick wall. Anyway, he's the unseen head of an operation, a wealthy individual. I would love to be him, yeah. And he provides the necessary funds in order for smuggling gangs to basically operate. So he buys the ships, he buys the barrels, and he just buys the overall things in order for the smuggling gangs to run. So, and he obviously made the profits, and he was the CEO, big head of business of smuggling. So then we have the sportsman. The sportsman has immediate knowledge of coastline. He's a bit of a geologist and a geography nerd, let's just say that. So we basically scout out the local area, such as people in Barry. He would scout out for caves and places to hide, just in case revenue and customs men at HMRC would find them when they unload the boats by the tubman. So basically he would order the tubman to hide in certain areas, or as I would say in Blackwood, you might hide in the Wetherspoons just in front of us, if you want to have a look. Yeah, so the tubman would often hide here, as the sportsman often designated this place as a safe area. So he would also be in charge of saying where boats should land their cargo, such as Barry, and which specific areas of Barry, or specific areas of Newport or Cardiff, just in case, you never know. So, and the lander. So he's the person who organised the tugboats to row out the ship. He's like the sailor. He's in charge of the boats, let's just say that. So he would scout out with lanterns, he would signal to ships, and he would just coordinate the ponies, carts, and he would get the labourers, or the tubmen, or the batsmen, to basically unload the boats, I guess. And he would just order them to get the goods out the boat. Often they would be these things called puff bars. I don't know what puff bars are. And also cheap fake tan off Amazon. That was an also thing I think is fitting. No, I don't know what cheap fake tan off Amazon is, but that is it's just a very popular good in Blackwood, especially. And these puff bars, apparently they're like all different flavours. I'm just not a fan of them. So then we have the tubman and the batsman. So the batsman were basically let's go for the batsman first. The batsman was in charge of basically, let's say HMRC men would sprint to the boat and try and catch and arrest the tubman. So the batsman would often carry wooden clubs or bats to basically just hit the HMRC customs officers and basically just try and kill them or hurt them in any way. So the tubsmen could just hide in the cliffs and the caves, I guess. And the tubmen, as you heard, were strong, fit men who would gather barrels of goods or goods of puff bars or fake tan from Amazon into the caves. And they would be swift and efficient in the unloading process. And all these people were crucial to the process of smuggling. And most of these smuggling gangs had 50 people in these smuggling gangs. Yeah, 50 people, and that's like 7 people to be smugglers, tubmen, and stuff like that. So these these organisations of the gangs, they were just very covert along the Welsh coastline, and they would basically just fight with the local authorities. And let's just delve deeper into the illicit world of smuggling as we uncover the layers that just intrigue us with the golden age of smuggling. So let's talk about the penalty of smuggling and the government attempt to reduce smuggling. Alright, so let's talk about the penalties of smuggling and what the government tried to do to reduce smuggling in Wales and basically just the whole of UK. Smuggling came at a heavy price. So the government would often sort to clamp down on illicit trade and smuggling, and really gripped onto that during the Tudor period. So they built many towers on the coast that we'll get to later. And they've also tried to employ coast guards and revenue men to really scout the ocean and the seabed, I guess, and the beach, I guess. And so basically the first way they tried to clamp down on smuggling was basically they implemented some measures. So ships smaller than 50 tons were barred from going 6 miles within 6 miles of the UK coastline. So they hoped that would deter smuggling activities, but I don't know how significant that was at deterring smuggling, because to be honest, that's not much. And transportation to the colonies were now made as a punishment now if you was caught smuggling. So that would be like going through Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and at the time it was basically either freezing, boiling hot, or just alright. So that would be really a harsh sentence. And then finally, in 1736, the government escalated efforts to even out the death penalty. So now the death penalty was in place if any revenue and customs man was hurt. So basically, this was the act of indemnity. Also, which was offered a dark choices to smugglers. Either rat out your friends and basically give the names of your smugglers and be pardoned, or you have to kill all the revenue men, or just reveal the names of your comrades. So you either kill the revenue men or you kill your comrades on the ship. Those are the only options you had during these times in 1736. It's absolutely horrific, actually. So these revenue men who worked at HMRC were tasked with patrolling the Welsh and British coastlines, and many ports were staffed by HMRC at the time. However, these batsmen would go mental if they saw any HMRC men just out there doing stuff. So, and these batsmen and these gangs threatened magistrates' courts. They threatened them and said, if you charge my friend to the death penalty or transportation to the colony, we will get revenge. That's what they did. So it was really difficult to bring smugglers to justice and arrest them, because these gangs were getting so controlling of society at this time, especially your local courts. So there were many famous smuggling rings in Wales, and they were shadows of the Welsh coast, you could say. Infinite smuggling rings emerged everywhere, especially in the Gower and West Wales, and even North Wales, northwest. So one of the first people were William Owen. He was a really daring smuggler of brandy and salt, but obviously he was executed for his crimes, because at this time now, being a smuggler would eventually get you killed by the death penalty or either transportation to the colonies, as I mentioned before. So obviously the local authorities caught him and he was killed. He was obviously tried and killed because he was much more of a solo man, but not much is known about him, and I haven't done enough research to say anything, so sorry, Mr. Clark. Anyway, the Lucas family, a smuggling dynasty of the Caldy Island. Well, basically, we're just not Caldy Island. Sorry, that's Henry Morgan. Let's carry on. Lucas family, smuggling dynasty for over 2 centuries, becomes synonymous of the cunning defiance of law enforcement. So they were set up in the Gower, or near Gower in Swansea, and they would go in the caves and basically just import whatever they need for the local community. So that's like salt, chocolate, and obviously alcohol, because who doesn't like alcohol? And you cannot forget, he obviously imported fake tan off Amazon and puff bars, because if you did not import fake tan and puff bars, who are you? You're not a real smuggler, are you? Right, and then we have Henry Morgan, the elusive smuggler of Cardley Island, and he navigated treacherous waters in pursuit of money. He was also just another standard smuggler who obviously imported fake tan and puff bars for the chavs of black were massive, and also he just imported the average stuff like salt, brandy, alcohol, and all the other good goods. You know, the things will become expensive due to the tax hikes from King Henry VIII and the to avoid excess duty and customs duty tax. And then we have probably the most coolest name here, Sean Quilt. Sean Quilt was the elusive leader of a smuggling ring up in the north, and basically he was just a folk hero And he just defied authority, I guess, and just went around and just smuggled in tons of stuff for cheap. And he obviously became rich. He was never ever caught, surprisingly, and he got his nickname Sean Quilt from the fact that he wore a jacket with just a bunch of patches. And smugglers and customs officials clashed in these coastal towns and rural areas, especially in Newquay and Fishguard and areas like that, and especially Llangrannog, which just reveals a bitter battle for just a control over just taxes and stuff. No one likes taxes. Don't pay your taxes, guys. If you pay taxes, you're boring. Anyway, basically all along the Pembrokeshire coast area, they were just smuggling everywhere, especially in like Ogof Whiskey Cave, which got his name from smuggling. And obviously just all these hidden bays all have very interesting stories when it comes to smuggling. Like even if you go on holiday to Llangrannog, or even like areas like Tenby, you can always hear a story about smuggling, because it was just so widespread in Wales at the time. So these stories just really just stood the test of time for centuries, well, a century, hundreds of years. So and this just shows like just demonstrates how big smuggling got at the time, and just how people just objected from the rule of law and wanted to avoid tax of 117% tax rise, and I just don't blame them for that. So now let's just talk about, to the end of our story here, the decline of smuggling in Wales, and that will lead us to our conclusion. Alright, let's go to the next part. So why? The question is, why did smuggling decline? Why did King Henry VIII have taxes? Why did Marcello Towers go up? Why did anyone just start smuggling in the first place? Why? What is the meaning of life? Why? Who knows? Anyway, in 1780s, 1780s, that sounds weird. Anyway, the 1780s, the Committee of Inquiry delved into the roots of smuggling in Wales, revealing the truth that stuck around a chord with many people. So it was largely a consequence of exorbitant duties, heavy taxes imposed on imports and exports. We all know that. Taxes went up 117% of the time by King Henry VIII. And in 1784, a pivotal moment happened, with the government and obviously the monarch lowered down the price from actually 119% to a mere 12.5%. So that means taxes has dropped now. And to be honest, I wouldn't be happy if I was paying 119% tax on a chocolate bar. I'd be literally like, have you seen VAT nowadays? Oh, it's got 20%. Extortionate. Anyway, actually filming, actually. Yeah, filming. This reduction just basically just killed most of the reason why you'd want to smuggle anything. And this just got rid of the incentive for illicit trade. So this was one of the reasons why smuggling just declined in Wales and the UK. Well, basically just, why am I saying ended the era, right? The Napoleonic Wars prompted a strategic response, and the Marcello Towers that were built due to the Napoleonic Wars basically didn't act as a deterrent for Napoleonic invasion, but also led a deterrent for these smuggling gangs. So they just kept an eye on the English Channel and areas of the UK, and even like the whole of the British Empire had Marcello Towers. There's some in Canada, America, Australia, India, Guernsey, everywhere Marcello Towers. And these just acted like the Coast Guard. And obviously the Coast Guard was now made with these Marcello Towers, and these just hindered many people smuggling, and obviously just like it just got rid of the trade and the exploits. So this ended trading of smuggling goods, because it was hard now, because the Coast Guard would be in force, right? And the decline of smuggling it's just a consequence of just a change in times and laws, I guess. And that just leads us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. This is just the end of the era of smuggling now, so thank you for watching. Bye bye.